Life is often compared to a journey, a road with many turns, forks, and crossroads. Some walk without ever questioning where their path leads, while others spend their days carefully weighing each step. But in the end, there are only two destinations, one of everlasting joy, peace, and light, and the other of torment, regret, and darkness. Our story begins with a young man named Daniel, a 28-year-old who had everything the world could offer but still felt empty inside. He grew up in a religious household, but as he entered adulthood, he drifted away from the faith of his parents. Success became his god, wealth his pursuit, and pleasure his comfort. He never thought about heaven or hell. Those concepts seemed like stories for children or myths to keep people in line. For Daniel, life was about what he could achieve here and now. But one night, after a business party filled with laughter, drinks, and shallow conversations, Daniel sat alone in his luxury apartment. He looked at the city lights stretching out before him, but inside, he felt a hollow darkness. He asked himself, why do I feel so empty when I have everything? That night, sleep did not come easily. When he finally drifted off, he experienced a dream unlike any he had ever had. In his dream, Daniel found himself standing at a great crossroads. Two paths lay before him. One was wide, smooth, and filled with countless travelers laughing, shouting, and enjoying themselves. The road was lined with dazzling lights, entertainment, and indulgence. It looked alive and attractive, pulling people in with promises of freedom and pleasure. The other road was narrow, rough, and filled with far fewer travelers. Those walking on it seemed humble, serious, yet strangely peaceful. At the end of the wide road, a distant glow of fire could be seen, though most of its travelers were too distracted to notice. At the end of the narrow road, a beautiful golden city shone brighter than the sun. Daniel stood frozen. He didn't know which path to take. Suddenly, an old man appeared beside him, clothed in white garments. His face radiated peace, and his eyes seemed to look deep into Daniel's soul. "Where am I?" Daniel asked in confusion. "This is the place where every soul stands," the man replied, "the crossroads of eternity. Each path leads to its final destination, one to destruction, and the other to life everlasting." Daniel looked again at the wide road. It was so appealing, filled with people who seemed happy and free. He turned to the narrow road and felt the weight of its challenge. "Why would anyone choose the hard road?" he asked. The old man smiled gently. "Because they see beyond the surface. The wide road hides its end, but its destination is death. The narrow road may look difficult, but its reward is eternal life." Daniel's heart pounded. "But I've lived my life on the wide road. I've done things I'm not proud of. Surely it's too late for me." The man placed a hand on his shoulder. "It is never too late while you still have breath. The choice is yours. Will you continue as you are, or will you turn toward life?" Suddenly, Daniel woke with a start. His heart raced, and his body was drenched in sweat. He sat on the edge of his bed, replaying the dream over and over. It felt more real than reality itself. For days, he couldn't shake it. He tried to drown it out with work, entertainment, and parties, but the vision of the two roads haunted him. One evening, Daniel walked into a bookstore without really knowing why. He wandered aimlessly until his eyes landed on a Bible. He hesitated, then picked it up. When he opened it, his eyes fell upon Matthew 7:13-14, "Enter through the narrow gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." His knees went weak. It was the very dream he had seen. Tears filled his eyes as he realized it was not just a dream, it was a warning. He bought the Bible and began reading every night. Slowly, he felt his hardened heart begin to soften. But the struggle was real. Daniel's friends mocked him when he turned down parties and wild nights. They told him he was wasting his youth. His business partners accused him of being distracted. Even his own mind tempted him, whispering that he could have both, the pleasures of the world and the peace of God. Yet deep inside, he knew there could be no compromise. The wide and narrow roads did not merge, they led in opposite directions. One night, Daniel knelt by his bed and whispered a prayer for the first time in years. "God, I don't know how to do this. I've lived for myself for so long. But I don't want to walk the path of destruction anymore. I want life. Show me the way." Peace filled the room. Daniel felt a weight lift from his chest as tears streamed down his face. For the first time, he knew he was not alone. From that day, Daniel's life began to change. He wasn't perfect, far from it, but every step he took was guided by the knowledge that his choices mattered. He stopped chasing empty pleasures and began helping those in need. He reconciled with his parents, whom he had ignored for years. He treated his employees with kindness instead of pride. Slowly, his friends noticed something different about him. Some mocked him, but others grew curious. Years later, Daniel found himself speaking to a group of young people. He told them about the dream of the two roads and how it had changed his life. With passion in his voice, he warned them not to be fooled by the glitter of the wide path. He urged them to choose the road less traveled, the narrow path of truth, love, and faith. Life is not about how much you gather for yourself, Daniel said, but where you are headed when it all ends. Every day you make choices that lead you closer to one of two destinations. Don't wait until it's too late. Choose life. Choose heaven. His words struck their hearts. Some brushed it off, but others felt the same stirring Daniel once felt, the pull of eternity. And so, the story of one man became a guidepost for many. Daniel's dream was not just for him but for anyone willing to listen. At the end of the day, each of us stands at that same crossroads. The wide road offers pleasure, comfort, and ease, but it hides the eternal cost. The narrow road demands sacrifice, humility, and faith, but it leads to eternal joy.